Listen close. Tonight, I want to talk about something that most of us rarely say out loud. Not our victories, not our goals, not the things we post online. I want to talk about the things that we silently carry, the thoughts that follow us around when nobody's watching, the fears, the regrets, the hopes, the things we carry because we're human. For me, one of the biggest silent weights I've carried throughout my life is the fear of failure. Not failure in the way people usually think about it. I don't lie awake at night worrying whether I'll become rich or famous. I worry about whether I'll fail the people I love. I worry about whether I'm making the right decisions for my children. I worry about whether I'm giving my children the guidance they deserve. I worry about whether I'm showing up as the father they need. I worry about failing in life after all the mistakes I've already made. Sometimes the weight isn't the possibility of failure, it's the responsibility of trying so hard not to fail. And I know I'm not the only one carrying that. Another silent thing I've always carried is the fear of being forgotten. Maybe that's why I started creating content. Maybe that's why I write. Maybe that's why I tell stories. I've always wondered what happens after we're gone. Not the spiritual sense, but in a practical sense. Will anyone remember us? Will our lives matter? Will we leave behind anything besides paperwork and photographs? That fear has motivated me more than once. It reminds me to live in a way that's worth remembering, to leave behind something useful, to help somebody, to make a difference even if it's small. There's something else. Something I think a lot of people carry but they rarely admit is missing old versions of ourselves. I miss who I used to be before the breakdown, before the years that changed everything. I miss the version of me who had the career I always wanted, the version of me who was traveling, training, confident, ambitious, the version who felt strong, the version who felt like he knew exactly where life was headed. Sometimes I find myself wondering, would my oldest child have stayed if I was still that man? Would my partner be whole today if I had never lost my way? Would trust still exist where damage now lives? Those questions don't have answers. And honestly, they probably never will. But they still visit me sometimes. I miss the man who felt unshakable, the man who believed hard work solved everything, the man who thought bad things happened to other people. But here's something I've learned: you can miss an old version of yourself without needing to become that person again. Because sometimes life doesn't rebuild us into someone who we were. Sometimes it builds us into someone new. Not the loneliness of being alone, the loneliness of becoming someone different. Healing can be lonely, growth can be lonely, setting boundaries can be lonely, especially when people around you benefited from you having none. When you're changing, not everyone comes with you. Some relationships fade, some friendships disappear, some people stop recognizing you. And for a while, it can feel like you're between two worlds, not who you used to be and not yet who you're becoming. That place can feel incredibly isolating, but sometimes loneliness is simply the cost of growth. And then there's regret. If I'm being completely honest, I've carried enough regret to fill a warehouse. regret over decisions, regret over words, regret over opportunities, regret over jobs that I took, jobs I didn't take, things I said, things I should have said, how I treated people, how I treated my parents growing up, the life I might have lived had I not been medically discharged from the Marines, the relationships I damaged, the trust I broke, the people I hurt, the moments I can't take back. I carry all of it, every single one, and maybe you do too. But I've learned something important about regret. Regret can be a prison or it can be a teacher. The past doesn't change because we have punished ourselves. The future changes when we learn from it. And finally, hope. Because despite everything we've talked about tonight, I still have hope. I hope there's a better version of me somewhere ahead. I hope that my children grow into strong, independent people who know they're loved, who believe in themselves, who can overcome whatever life puts in front of them. I hope my mental health continues to improve. I hope the scars I've carried for decades continue to heal. I hope I can help other people heal too. I hope that everything I've gone through wasn't wasted. And maybe that's the most powerful thing about being human. No matter how much we carry, most of us still find a way to hope. We still believe tomorrow might be better. We still keep moving. We still keep trying. And maybe that's courage, not being fearless, but carrying all these things and continuing forward anyway. The truth is, you're not strange for having these thoughts. You're human. Most people are carrying the same silent weight. The difference is that tonight we talked about it. Until next time, I'm Ryan, and this is Evolve Minute. Be the spark, ignite change, evolve 1 minute at a time.